channel, sports fans. Okay, let's get into this one right here. Well, let's talk about fundamentals in basketball. Because I was listening to a video yesterday with Sports and Fitness Rants, and he said that he thought that all NBA players or future NBA players should go to college for at least 3 seasons so they could get the right fundamentals. And yeah, I think that's right to a degree. But we also have to understand, will they really get the fundamentals? Do they really have the same fundamentals in college that they used to have in the past? I don't know, folks. I mean, we always looked at high school and college. Like, if you didn't get the fundamentals from those places, you were going to get destroyed in the NBA. And you basically wouldn't even make the NBA. So you wouldn't have to worry about that. This is what I'm going to say. We're going to talk about the difference between AAU, college, and the NBA. I mean, well, let's just say we're going to talk about AAU, street ball, and organized ball. There was always a difference, folks. Street ball, AAU, and organized basketball. It was always a difference. To me, I don't think you're going to get the same fundamentals out of college basketball as you used to have, because all the one and dones. So they're trying to satisfy, a lot of these one and dones, and I don't see it there anymore. I mean, it's not as bad as the NBA, but these guys are shooting a lot of threes. You watch a lot of these programs. You saw a lot of these coaches, like Coach K. He had a breakdown to the system with these one and done players. He did not like that. He didn't like, a lot of things that these players did in the past, as far as him being able to get certain players. And he had a dress code. He had certain things that you had to do at his school to come to the school. And I'm saying that because I've been a Duke fan for since I was little, right? I was there for the back-to-back, the Grant Hill, the Christian Laettners, and even before they won the first championship, the UNLV battle and all this stuff. And it wasn't just Coach K. It was basically all the coaches that you had to do certain stuff or do certain things. You had to act a certain way. You had to carry yourself a certain way. And you were there to learn fundamentals of the game. Just like it's a pecking order in, guys, greatest of all time, guys want to be like this guy, guys want to be like this guy in the NBA. It's like that in coaching too. A lot of these guys were wanting to be like John Wooden as far as coaches. So they had to coach a certain way, carry their program a certain way. And they were seeing how John Wooden was doing this thing, man. The great fundamentals of the game, the X's and O's. So I don't think you really had that too much in college. And what I was talking about with Coach K, he was successful in his program for a long time because of the fundamentals, because of the X's and O's, because of the way he carried his program when he mimicked other certain great coaches in the past. Eventually, he would have to break down because of the times. And he had to do that to get certain players. Because we had, I don't know if I should say the names, but if you know basketball, certain coaches, you started this one and done thing. And to me, that's when it started taking the fundamentals out of the game. You're only there for one damn season, and you can come there and play basketball any damn way you want because you're a great player. That kind of ruined the game. And Coach K, he had to eventually start breaking down and giving in just to get these great players. And, we can look at it too, what I'm saying? They're not paying these players, blah, 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 da. But I'm just saying, he had to start breaking down and doing what these other coaches did in his last days of being a coach. Just to stay competitive. Because I can tell you what, Duke for a hot minute, they weren't getting great players because of that one and done thing. And Coach K, he wasn't with it. So they lost out on a lot of great players. In essence, lost out maybe on championships. So, and I'm not trying to say Coach K is the only coach about fundamentals and all that stuff, but what I'm trying to say is you have coaches that came into the game and basically cheated just to call themselves great coaches. And I'm not trying to say cheated, but I'm just saying to get a foot up. You know, your Calipari's, and you know, I think he's the John Calipari, right? He's the one that started the whole one and done stuff. And for all that one and done stuff that he did, I think he only he only won one championship, if I'm not mistaken. He was the one and done master. And then you had all these coaches, you know, start doing the same thing. And that's when Coach K eventually gave in. And a lot of other coaches start giving in too, not just Coach K. But it was just sad to see my team at a time to where, you know, we had good to great players, but we couldn't get those number one high school players because we didn't have the one and done. And that really destroyed the fundamentals of the game right there. So I don't know too much about if you could put these players back in college for 3 years. The system would have to go back to how it was. You know, players would have to respect the coaches, and they would have to listen to the coaches. I mean, are those times still the same? Your children don't even listen to you now, for the most part. You know, these college coaches were psychotic. These were the most psychotic coaches you ever seen. Yes, some high school coaches, they were psychotic too. When you look at these NBA coaches today, I keep trying to tell you, these aren't real head coaches, folks. They just don't, you know, we just remember and seeing coaches who are psychotic. You know, it don't matter what sport it is. Some of these coaches, you know, are like Bill Belichick's, right? What's this coach from Alabama football team? You know, coaches like that, they just won a championship and they're like, so? Got to get back to work. They didn't care. The only thing they cared about was winning more championships than the guy who won the most championships in history. I mean, that's all they cared about. Because they knew most likely, yes, they just won the championship. But guess what? Now they're going to have to work even harder the next season because most likely those children or those players will be gone, some of them. So they got a whole new, different team coming in. They got to go recruit. They got to do. Yes, a championship is great if that's just what you wanted right then and there. And you wasn't planning on winning no more championships. And it was, I mean, I'm trying to tell you folks, coaches were different back then. You could literally, I don't know, play for, you know, a coach who was like in a whatever league, and that coach coached in that whatever league all the time. That coach would be psychotic. Just like the players want to win, the coaches wanted to win. You don't see that today with these coaches. Now, I'll give it to college coaches. They're more intense than NBA coaches. And I think that's because their job is like on the line all the time. And I'm sure they want to win. So I give it to them that they're more, you know, they're more involved. The NBA coaches, but NBA coaches are a joke. And I can tell you again, I don't cry for none of these guys. They don't act like real head coaches. They don't look like real head coaches. It ain't nothing about these guys that look like real head coaches. That's why I say I don't believe these are, you know, this is a real sports league by the way the players act. It look like these guys just going through the motions. Look like they just playing a pickup game, bro. And when you look at the way things are happening in the NBA, how can these guys be real head coaches if they're running the same play on offense and defense and doing the same? It's the same script up and down the floor. So what are you coaching different than this other coach on the other side? What are you coaching different? These coaches don't act like they got any control of the team. We used to have play-by-play guys that would say, "Oof, that was a bad shot. Why did he take that shot? Why did he make that pass? Why he didn't box out?" You think that the damn coaches don't say that today? You think the play-by-play guys are going to say it? The play-by-play guys were like coaches. They were calling dudes out because most of them, the color analysts, play basketball. What do we need you as a color analyst for if you're not there to provide information about the game, the fundamentals about the game, and a breakdown about the game? We're not just there to hear you talk about a player been playing for 23 years, scored all these points, grabbed all these whatever. We're there to hear what you did good in the game, what you did bad in the game, what you could do better in the game, and a whole bunch of other stats, historical stats, in the game. Historical moments. These guys aren't really teachers anymore. That's what they got paid to do, to be teachers. And they can't do that because the coaches are not teachers no more. They're fake. To me, these guys are out here playing a version of AAU pick and pop. You're really getting paid millions of dollars to do this? So when we talk about organized basketball, a lot of people couldn't play this game. A lot of people couldn't play organized basketball. Take for instance, we looked at a lot of these guys from the N1. You remember that? N1. This thing was huge in the early 2000s. See, we had great stuff like this back in the days that they don't have now. And this is why I try to beat up on this era, because this era has no originality. You know, N1 came out of itself. You know, a little bit of street ball, but it's something that's original that just popped up. There's no originality in this era at all. So we look at organized basketball, and when I talk about guys that played on the N1 circuit, for the most part, you know, they used to be great players that aspired, you know, to be NBA players, but they never made it because it's more like street ball. And we know a lot of cats that were good at street ball, but they couldn't play organized basketball. You know, just like we know, and we see a lot of rappers, you hear a lot of them on the mixtapes, and they can rap real good on those mixtapes or whatever like that. But when they get into the studio and you got to make organized rap, not too good. You know, and some people, you know, they like either or. A lot of people like mixtapes more than they like, you know, what you would call organized rap. And some people like organized rap more than they, you know, vice versa. You know, but organized basketball, the money is right there. You ain't gonna make too much money off of what you call street ball. That was the N1. So when we get to organized basketball, even though street ball is a positional game, organized basketball is a positional game at a higher level with great fundamentals. And everybody is involved at the highest level. And it's supposed to be everybody at every position on that court is there because they can play their position with fundamentals at the highest level. Right? They got the highest IQ. They can, you know, they can pass, they can post, they can shoot, they can rebound, they can run plays. X's and O's, all these different things that no longer makes it look like street ball. If you can't run these plays, if you don't know about the X's and O's, if you don't have great fundamentals at the highest level and know when to pass the ball, when this guy is cutting, know how to move your feet a certain way, and make these shots when your defender is leaning a certain way, and you can do like an up and under move, and now you see a guy cutting to the basket, like you just act like you were going to shoot that shot, and you pass it to your teammate. It's a lot of fundamentals, guys, in what I'm talking about. Organized basketball. You will get left behind real quick in organized basketball. And the guys I'm talking about, who we saw on the street that were great, when they get to that level of organized basketball, we done heard it. That so many guys could play in the NBA, but didn't make the cut, folks, because they couldn't play on the level of organized basketball. Now street ball is something totally different. You're not playing with X's and O's and great fundamentals and things like that. You're just out there grinding it out, or you used to. You used to grind it out. You can take off your shirt. You could play mostly one-on-one and things like that. A lot of people love street ball. You can do all kind of fancy, crazy moves and stuff like that. I mean, and then you talk about AAU ball. When I was growing up, what the hell was AAU ball? See, a lot of you guys might know it today. That's something different. Guys who can really play. Guys who can really shoot. But we knew AAU ball as soft. These guys were soft. We knew AAU ball as basketball for rich kids. Yep. The only kids that we knew that played AAU was rich kids, because you had to have money to go into AAU leagues. That's on the kids that were in there, were rich kids. They basically started their own leagues. Yep, because they weren't out there playing street ball. And what happened was, eventually, the guys that played street ball, the guys who were, really good growing up, in high school and stuff like that, they start paying. I don't know. It probably was like some grant or something like that for poor kids who were like great at basketball. But they start paying through a grant or whatever like that to get poor children into these AAU camps. That's what they start doing, folks. Because we always know AAU was mostly white children. In those leagues, they would work on shooting. So they were the shooters. Of course, they would work on fundamentals, but we just known the AAU boys for basically shooting. They couldn't grind it out. They couldn't do none of that. If you put hardcore defense on them, they will break down. So a lot of that stuff they won't really have to worry about, because they weren't really getting the tough, raw, and gritty type of dudes in them AAU camps. You know what I'm saying? They might get, one, gritty dude in those AAU camps, because like I said, they would pay for these poor kids who had great NBA talent or great talent to come in those camps, to make those camps look better. But that's just what we always knew AAU was. They were soft. They couldn't come to no damn streets and play no street basketball. They were always playing on the hardwood. Yep. These were your Steve Kerrs and your John Paxsons and something like your Steve Nashes and these type of guys. Your Mark Prices. No knock on John Stockton, because he's real gritty, but these were these type of guys. That just learn how to shoot. arc the ball, shoot the ball a certain way. You know, all this crazy stuff. It ain't crazy, but I'm just saying most of the players I know didn't come out of AAU, came out of street ball. But either way, wherever you came, when it came down to it, you had to learn how to play organized basketball. And a lot of those guys from the AAU back in the day, they couldn't make it. They couldn't make it. They couldn't make it into college. Some of them couldn't make it into the pros. They weren't tough enough. And like I said, some of them dudes that came from the street ball, they couldn't make it in organized basketball. You know, so this era right here, I don't even know what this is, folks. Since 210s, to me, it just looks like an AAU type of camp. It's some of the saddest things you ever seen, folks. It's some of the saddest things you ever seen. I don't know how to describe it. I mean, the fundamentals of basketball is basically gone. And where you destroy that is, you take out positional basketball. And I can tell you one thing. If you didn't hear this a million times when you were younger, then you didn't play basketball. And you don't know basketball. All you heard was the most high percentage shot. Get the most high percentage shot. You probably would go to sleep with that with that in your ear. The most high percent. It don't matter if you was playing at the damn YMCA, the Power Club. Y'all might not know about the Power Club, you know, if you didn't grow up in like small towns. I tell you, I grew up in big cities in small towns because I had my parents. They were, you know, one was in small towns, the other was in big cities. So whatever coach you played under growing up, all you heard was the most high percentage shot. Right? So the perimeter shot was basically the last resort. It was the last resort. It don't matter how you got that high percentage shot. You blew by a guy on the perimeter, you gave it to the center, you gave it to the power forward, you gave it to the forward, whatever. But they wanted the most high percentage shot first, because the perimeter shot was not, it wasn't high percentage. It was the dumbest shot to take first, because it's not likely you're going to hit that shot over a shot that's in the paint. It doesn't make any sense. I mean, because of course you had real defense back then, so nobody was just going to let you take a shot, wherever you were, period. But it didn't make any sense. You're out there shooting threes and dudes are right in your grill. So how are you going to shoot that three and be accurate enough to make it when he's right there in your grill? You're most likely you're going to hit the layup or a shot close in the paint rather than the shot out there. So, like I said, I don't know what these guys are doing today. When you take away positional basketball, it really lowers the standards. You're not really playing basketball anymore. And all this three-point shooting really came out of, I want to say, the European leagues, right? Because their fundamentals over time was really shooting. I don't think they had the great big men, power forwards or centers to be out there grinding out. And that's fine. Whatever style they want to play, perimeter basketball, if that's what they want to do, fine. But like I said, they never could go against our dream team in the past with that style of play and win. They would get destroyed. Remember, they were getting destroyed just about every season or every time in the Olympics when we played them. And we were sending our college players to play their professional players. Yes, they had some post players, but for the most part, they couldn't handle our post play. They were getting destroyed. So when we go up to the period of, 2004, the LeBron era, we go to the Olympics, we go to 2006, the LeBron era. We were getting out of playing positional basketball at the highest level. We were getting out of playing, high percentage shot with the big man. Folks, everybody can't play like Michael Jordan. That's it can't be done. You need a guy in the paint playing at the highest level. That's, you'll never see that again. What Michael Jordan did. What Michael Jordan did. You had to be out of your mind, and you had to be a great shooter to win championships like that without a great big man. Maybe Steph Curry, right? You don't have to be a great shooter to overcome that. And he had wasn't that he had Klay Thompson over there, another great shooter. Two guys shooting 40% from the three. I mean, that's nasty. Michael Jordan didn't have that, folks. He didn't have another guy shooting 50% like him. Basically, what he relied on was his great shooting and his great defense. His great shooting, great all-around shooting, and his teammates' great defense. He had the Horace Grant, him, and Pippen. And then you have Ron Harper, Pippen, Dennis Rodman, and him. But when we look at other championships, it was great big men in the 90s. Whether it was Hakeem, the Twin Towers in 99, even Patrick Ewing going to the finals when Jordan retired. If he would have won, it would have been another great big man winning. The Shaq and Kobe, Dwayne Wade having Shaq, Tim Duncan in the 2000s winning all those championships, another great big man. Kobe couldn't win until, Paul Gasol came, another great big man. So that's just how it was back in the day. But yeah, a lot of guys, great players, never made the NBA back in the day, folks. And because they lacked the fundamentals. They couldn't deal with the X's and O's in the playbook and, all these different type of things that's in organized basketball that makes it different than street ball. Street ball is damn near like the Globetrotters. I mean, as far as entertainment, you got to remember a lot of those guys that, played, that was in the Globetrotters, they couldn't make it to the NBA. Or they made it to the NBA and got cut. Hell, even Wilt Chamberlain played for the Globetrotters. I mean, you really have to, I'm not trying to say you're trash if you play for the Globetrotters. Actually, a lot of them guys are like skilled with the ball. Like the N1 guys, really skilled with the ball. But yeah, that's the whole difference. A lot of, guys that played in the AAU circuit back in the day, they made it to college, but never made it to the NBA, folks. Because, the NBA just ain't about organized basketball, period. I mean, you got to have some grit. You got to have all that stuff when it comes down to it. You got to have a little bit of grit. You just can't have, just dudes knowing plays and playing with fundamentals. No, you got to have grit, athleticism, and all that stuff. So, I mean, if you can combine a lot of that stuff from the street ball and the AAU ball and, bring it into organized basketball, it's great. But you just can't come in there and be like, yeah, I just got one. It ain't going to work. It's never worked. And you see a lot of these guys today. What is this? Nobody knows what this is in the NBA today. Who are these guys? Nobody knows. I mean, it's a mix between the Globetrotters, AAU. I mean, what is it? I don't even know if it's street ball. These guys are too soft to play street ball. They will get ran off the damn court. I'm serious. These guys are too soft to play street ball back in the day. They get ran off the court. You got to remember, street ball was grind. Elbows in the back, pushing, shoving, hand checking, all this stuff. Trash talking. Ain't no damn way any of these guys could play street ball. The guys that we saw back in the days, in the 80s, the 90s, the 70s, the 60s, these guys could play street ball because these guys came up playing street ball. These guys came up playing on concrete. outside. If you couldn't play street ball, I mean, if you was in the NBA back in the day, the 80s, the 90s, the 70s, the 60s, if you couldn't play street ball, you couldn't play in the NBA. You couldn't. You better go find some AAU circuit, because the NBA really wasn't no different than street ball. Right? So, again, we don't know what the hell we're looking at. What is this today, folks? You're not even looking at grown men. I told you over and over again, go back and look at these guys in the past and look at the guys now. These guys today are built like our high school players that we seen in the 80s and 90s. The high school players that I watched in the 80s and 90s, they're built like today's NBA players, in the sense that these guys look like they're still developing their bodies. They're still going through puberty and adolescence and stuff like this. It's weird. If you had a body like this, even in college, it would be kind of challenging for you in college. It would be tough. But if you came to the NBA with a body like these NBA players have today, oh, I don't know, man. It might be water boy. It might be water boy time. I don't even know if you could get on the floor. You damn sure couldn't get in the paint. These aren't paint players. I'm gonna tell you what right now. None of these players who play small forward, power forward, or center, ain't no damn way you're gonna play their position today. These guys today that play in the NBA, no damn way. You didn't go down there with the big boys. You didn't go down there with the big boys. No, not with no bodies like that. I'm just telling you, man. These dudes look like, whew. You better stay on the perimeter with your John Paxsons and your Steve Kerrs and, these type of guys, Mark Prices, and, no, it ain't gonna happen, man. Look at what Dan Marlin came in the league compared to 4 years in the league. This dude was yoked up. He was yoked up because you had to literally go through the grind. You guys got to understand what a foul was back in the day. You could literally get pushed and pushed and pushed until you took the shot. Right? You could just take off baseline with the ball, and a guy is hand checking you and pushing you in the ribs, pushing you in the waist and everything. Right? And that foul won't be called. That's not considered a foul. The only thing that is considered a foul is once you start your shooting motion. Now, if you're still pushing the dude while he's taking the shot, that's a foul every time. Don't matter where you hit him or anything like that. That's why you see a lot of Michael Jordan's. If you go watch a lot of his highlights, you gotta watch some good highlights. Like this guy Max Million, he will be like Jordan's 91, 92 season, and it will go through all his damn shots with every team that he played in that season. So a lot of times you'll see these guys pushing him while he's driving, pushing him in the ribs, the waist, all this, and nothing's called. But as soon as he goes up for the shot and you're still touching him, that's what they consider a foul. And a lot of these guys will get mad, but that's just how it was. If he went up and you bodied him, or any opponent really, you bodied the opponent while they were in the shooting motion, it's just not hitting somebody's elbow or whatever like that. There's body fouls too, but those same fouls literally were not fouls if the guy wasn't shooting. They would call that getting position a defender. So he could do a lot of stuff with you while you're not shooting. You don't see that today, folks. Right? Even if you attempt to play defense, it will be a 10-minute timeout. Let's go back and look at it. Was this a flagrant, a technical, a personal foul, a friendly foul, a 20-day suspension? We're going to make a rule where we can't do this ever again. What are these coaches coaching in practice? We told them if these players attempt to practice defense in practice, they'll get suspended. I mean, what is this? We can't. It's hard to take this serious, folks. It's really hard. And there's really no excuse. If you're talking about football, oh man, you can't target no more. You can't take this dude's head off. You got to hit below the shoulder pads. We're pissed. We're like, we don't like this. These guys are getting paid millions of dollars, and this is where they want to go, to make millions of dollars. This is a game they wanted to be a part of, the same game that the guys were playing back in the day. But okay, we're pissed off about it. We got to change some rules. We don't like it. But folks, basketball is not football. There's no excuse for these guys to be playing like this. That these guys can't grind it out like the guys in the past. If these guys in the past didn't do the same thing and grind it out, what would you have? How would LeBron James have his favorite player being Michael Jordan? How could Kobe Bryant have his favorite player being Michael Jordan? And any great player that says, no, my favorite player is Larry Bird or Magic Johnson or Wilt, these guys had to grind it out. So you can't put these players today at the same damn table as these players in the past. And these players today who said, oh, my favorite player was this player in the 90s, the 80s, the 70s, the 60s, whatever. You ain't doing the same stuff that they did. You ain't on these guys' level. These guys earn all their points. And I'm not trying to say a guy's going to hand check you and push you and do all this stuff every time. They're not going to do that every time because you'll get blown by. You know, it's a time and a place to do those things. You don't see it every play. If you think you're going to hand check Michael Jordan he's going to blow by you. You're going to have that arm out there, they're going to blow by you. Or somebody's, hand checking you or doing that to you on the post, you better be able to hold your own because the dude will spin off of you. You just got to know how to do these things at the right time and things like that. But these guys literally went through a grind. Dude is going to square up with you all the time. You think you're just going to come down and play this 3-point game? How though? I don't understand, because dudes is right in your mug. So now you're taking a bad shot. No trapping. I mean, dudes basically wouldn't even know how to get out of a trap today. Like, it would be something unfamiliar. In the way the game is played today, if you try to do those things back in the day, all hell would break loose. If you say, oh man, we're going to turn this into a no-touch game, the coaches and the players will go to the commissioner and say, you got me effed up. I'm not playing under these rules. Because if you put me under these rules, you done lowered the standard. I could never say, or the media, or the players, or the fans could never say I will be greater or equal than the players of the past. If these are the new rules. For real, that's what the 90s or 80s players would say. They'd be like, you're lowering the standard? You're going to make it easier for me to play basketball. For what? For what? And then you're going to give me more money. This wouldn't make sense to these guys. These guys were competitors. That's why I said I don't know how it makes sense to these guys, especially in the 2010s and the 2020s. How does that make any sense? See, the guys that played in the past, in the 80s and 90s, and 70s and 60s, if they stepped on the court with these guys in the 2010s and 2020s, they would feel like they're playing AAU players. That's how they would feel. So yeah, when you take out positional basketball, you don't have basketball anymore. I mean, I don't know what people don't understand about this. You don't have positional basketball no more. Every position, you had to have a certain skill at that position. At the point guard, you had to have a certain positional skill or skill at that position. At the shooting guard position, you had to have a certain skill at that position. The forward position, you had to have a certain skill. The power forward, you had to have a certain skill. The center, you had to have a certain skill set at that position. So you had to have a different skill set at every position. If you didn't, you couldn't play that position. All these guys didn't have the same damn skill set at every position. This would be like in football, all these guys having the damn same skill set at every position. And I told you how the NBA today is like, would be something like they would do in football. So in football, let's say if you took away the offensive line and you took away the defensive line, you kept everybody else. You kept your receivers, your tight ends, your running backs, your defensive backs. Don't confuse it off the defensive line with the defensive backs. So you kept your defensive back, your safeties, everybody else, but the two lines. You got to get rid of the offensive line and the defensive line. And you just hike the ball. But you cannot rush the quarterback, right? You can't rush the quarterback. You can't touch the quarterback unless he goes past that line, right? You still got your running back and everything. You can't touch the quarterback unless he goes past that line. I mean, it would be the most ridiculous thing you ever seen. Maybe that quarterback would have all kind of time to get his man open. The running backs, it ain't no damn line for them to go through. So it would be easier for them to, when they get past that line, they won't have no linemen to go through. So when they went through that line, they probably would juke the hell out of the defensive backs or the linebackers. My fault. They would juke the hell out of them, right? Because there would be no resistance from the defensive line. So when you got to the linebackers, you just juke the hell out of them. Some of them, most of them. And the quarterback would have all this time and won't be under duress to make these throws. And maybe sometimes he might take off and run. I mean, he don't have no line to go through. And then he's getting 10 touchdowns in a damn game. And then we're going to come with the LeBron era NBA media logic. Right? Let's use that logic. Look what, we'll just use a quarterback. Look at Patrick Mahomes. Look what he's doing. 10 touchdowns in a game. And he's averaged 8 touchdowns a game all season. Peyton Manning could never do that. Tom Brady could never do that. Joe Montana could never do that. Huh? This is how ridiculous all this stuff sounds by the media when they talk about this era. In no positional basketball, folks, you can't touch nobody. It's just a bunch of skinny 3-point shooters. They're running and gunning. They're supposedly getting paid all this money for some trash nobody is watching. Make that make sense. You just, all these networks are just beside themselves. How they're going to bid for the NBA. They're pushing and fighting to get a contract done with the NBA for something that nobody is watching, folks. I'm just trying to wrap my head around how that works. Nobody's watching it. So what are you telling your advertisers on your network? How good is the advertisers? How much money are they going to make when they pay you to advertise on your network? If nobody's watching the advertisement, nobody's watching this trash. Nobody even wants to. Why would you want to advertise on a network that is affiliated with an era that is trash? That's the standard. That's. I don't understand, man. It sounds all fake to me. Either way you cut it, nobody's watching this trash, and they're bidding billions of dollars for these contracts. Doesn't make any sense. It makes no sense at all. However you want to slide, it sounds like a lie to me. I don't think they're paying this much for these contracts, or they're able to write that money off at the end of the day as a tax write-off, so they don't have to pay. These networks don't have to pay taxes on everything else. That they acquired through the year. It doesn't make any sense. Nobody's watching this garbage. So yeah, that's just the way it is, folks. They don't want to get back to playing basketball like men used to play because it hurts. If you touch me, it hurts. If you play defense, it hurts. So these guys are supposed to be getting paid all this top money for this trash. And again, when we were talking about the NFL, nobody would watch that. If they play the game like that, you better believe nobody would watch that, folks. Nobody. Or is anybody really watching a Pro Bowl game? A flag football game? Really? Aren't they putting women in a game too? It's like, I guess. I don't know what sports is for men in this era. It's basically a joke. Everything has been made easier. And because it's been made easier, the best of the best is no longer involved. We talked about that. Whether it's sports, movies, sitcoms, music, you really have a second, third, fourth tier guys. who aren't the best of the best in a lot of these industries. We talked about, building, commercial buildings, houses, whatever. You have women and children. I ain't talking about grown women. You have some of them too, but you literally have underage children, girls and boys, building America. I see this thing firsthand every day. These aren't people coming from a school or a union learning, craftsmanship or anything. You literally have children building America. Think it's a joke, folks. Illegal immigrants, men, women, and children with no qualifications building the United States. Sometimes I don't like to get America and the United States mixed up. The Americas is the whole damn Western Hemisphere. But building the United States, or you could say America too, whatever you want to say. United States of America, But yeah, the standard has been lowered, folks. It's the saddest thing you ever seen in this country. The standard, you got this Donald Trump, all these tariffs, all this AI, all this stuff. I don't hear nothing about bringing down inflation. I don't hear nothing about bringing, unions back to the United States. I don't hear nothing about bringing American jobs. Don't tell me you're giving money to these companies and corporations to start AI and this and that. Well, who you hiring? You gonna hire the people from, so you're gonna bring in foreign people to do those jobs for some foreign visa? Because it's gonna be the business owners who are always greedy now that's gonna want the cheapest labor. But you know what they will call that? The hardest working labor, the most intelligent labor. But on the back end, they're gonna pay those guys cheap labor. According to versus the, Americans who could do the job, who are intelligent. But of course, we don't want the American way no more. See, the American way and the American dream is two different things. You don't have to live the American dream or want the American dream if you were already here. You born here, you live here. What would you be dreaming about? That's for people who's coming to this country who live in hell economically. Right? Economically. So they're going to flock over here and try to get the American dream because they can't get where we come from. They can't get the Cuban dream or the Venezuelan dream or the Brazilian dream or the Jamaican dream. It don't exist. You're going to be dreaming all your damn life. Be dreaming all your damn life for the most part. A lot of them countries is rich and poor. That's it. So those are for immigrants, the American dream. The American way was for the people who fought in the War of Independence, the Civil War in this country was built up on something. Unions. You make some money, I make some money. It ain't like that no more, folks. The American way is gone. When you start cutting out American people for people who never pay taxes, people ain't even legal, people who ain't even did it right, the American way is gone. These people aren't coming over here to do it the American way. And the companies and corporations aren't with the American way no more. So, I'm not going to get too deep into politics. I just see this Trump. He running up a massive debt, folks. A massive debt. And I told you guys who fund these guys' campaigns. The companies, the corporations give to these guys' campaigns tens of millions of dollars. So when they run, who are they looking at now to pay back the companies and corporations? You saw who was by his side. The Jeff Bezos and the whatever the other guy's name is. Guy that owns Amazon, the one that owns Tesla. How much money did they pay for this guy's campaign? Whew. So who are we looking at now? Them. Gotta pay him back. They even tell you this, folks. They even tell you this. That their campaigns are funded through these people. I'm not gonna stay on here and talk about this, man. I mean, we should know this. If they taught this stuff in school, it would really be no reason to go to school. I mean, from the get-go, if they really told the truth about what a president is, what the United States corporation is, what your voting rights are, as far as you getting a popular vote, and these other people who aren't you get the electoral college and the real electoral vote, and the citizens only get the popular vote, and that the popular vote don't count or elect the president into office, we wouldn't have to be going through these things, folks. we wouldn't have to be going through these things. But the people are very small-minded, and you can't blame the controllers because they put these things out here. This is the law, and what these people are doing, they're doing it through the law. And when I say the law, I'm talking about they don't hide these things. It's open record to know the law. You don't have to be a lawyer to know the law, right? If you ever vote, you better know the law. To know what a president, a vice president, a senator, a governor, a mayor, a lawyer, a police officer, all these people are, you better know the law. Don't tell me what these people do. You better know the law. You better know who these people really are, folks. Stop bullshitting yourself and know the law. And the law is millions of pages long. That's the crazy part is. So I'm just saying, in the long run, I'm just looking at what this, corporate president Donald Trump is doing. A lot of this stuff doesn't make any sense, folks, when we look at it. But then again, it does make sense. If I'm looking at it from a person who doesn't know the history of this land, then maybe saying I'm a Democrat, right? If I want to go on one of those, venues that people think they're free in, right? Or want to be a part of, the Republican, the Democrat, the black, the white, the religious sector, Muslim, Catholic, all these different, what do you call it, division, religion, all this different stuff that divide the people. If I want to look at it from maybe a Democratic point of view, and I'm like, well, this dude, what's going on? I thought he said he was going to bring down the inflation, but he's just bringing up the inflation. It ain't bringing American jobs. So that's how a Democrat would look at it. A Republican would look at it in the sense that, okay, he's doing what he said he would do as far as getting these people out who don't belong here. But again, man, this guy, he might be worse than the Biden. It's hard to top the debt that Biden put us in, but man, this guy is going straight through debt. And he's putting the economy in debt. That's what he's really doing. Because you guys don't even know what an economy is. This ain't even your economy. This is their economy, the United States corporation, the company. This is their economy that they done got the people to buy into. That's why I said you got to understand history. You understand what colonies were. These were charters to start up businesses in these colonies. This is all colonies were. Right? So let's say, when the United States and the Spanish-American War, and the United States supposedly won. How do you sign treaties if you supposedly won? And then you gave them $20 million. So the equivalent to that's a lot of money today. That was in the late 1800s. So that would be hundreds of millions of dollars today. So the United States gave Spain $20 million back then for Puerto Rico, Cuba, I think it was the Philippines, Guam. It was another country. I can't remember this other country. Yeah, so those countries that I can remember, the United States gave 20 million to those countries. 20 million to Spain for those countries. And Spain took off. Pew! I'm gone. They took their money and left. So did the United States corporation, because it's the corporation, because the United States corporation isn't supposed to be the United States Republic, where after the War of Independence, the states became republics with their own constitutions and everything like that. But the United States corporation was just supposed to be the war machine owned by the British Crown. So they were supposed to just be the protectors. You have the central government, this government branch. Well, that's who the United States is, right? With the presidents. And so they gave Spain that $20 million for Cuba, Puerto Rico, I think Guam, the Philippines. I'm missing another one. And again, Spain took off, boom, bam, boom. So What did the United States give Spain $20 million for? To free the people? So the United States is just so good. Go around freeing all these people. So why were they killing all these people who were fighting in all these wars? I mean, fighting on the side of Spain. How come they just didn't give Spain the 20 million and sign the treaty? And you're going to come up with all these excuses. Nevertheless, we'll leave that out because people come up with all kinds of excuses on that. Nevertheless, the United States gave Spain the money. And Spain took off. Now they have Puerto Rico, Cuba, Guam, the Philippines, these places like that. It's another one I can't remember. But these people on these lands are just free to do what they want, come up with their own president. No, folks. Now the United States puts their people in place. I ain't saying they're directly putting American people in place, but they're putting the dictators or the government that they want and how it's going to be run in place in Cuba, Puerto Rico, Guam, the Philippines, from that day when the Spanish-American War ended to when they gave them that money. And what they gave them that money for was for that economy. That economy. You got to remember, when Spain came to those places, they set up colonies that were economies. So they got they brought their people over from Spain, right, to be indentured slaves. The dummies will say, "Oh man, they were slaves." Well, let me talk to the people who really know history, folks. Okay, again, you're going by somebody's story that you don't even know who they are. Once you find out who they are, you know that they didn't bring all these slaves over wherever they went. They brought their own people over to be indentured slaves. And then because most likely where they came from, a lot of these places, it wasn't a lot of resources. We already know that with the Europeans. That's why they took off and they were looking for all this stuff, because they was running out of resources. So they would convince the people, come over here, be indentured and work for us, the companies and corporations. And then once you do your time, you're going to get land, you're going to get cows, and you can get some indentured slaves, and you can live high off the hog in this new place. But how did that happen first? Well, you got to make, treaties and make friends with the people of the land, which were the Indians, which were the indigenous people. And you had to have some kind of trade with them, because you just can't start running off wherever you wanted to, because you got to remember, even on any land, whether it was Jamaica, Puerto Rico, Hispaniola, Mexico, all these places, they were all broken up in different tribes. In America, it was over 100 million different tribes. So you just couldn't run off and do what you wanted to. You get your head knocked off. So if you had a treaty with this tribe, you could only be on this land, this section of land. If you went off that section of land, you're done. So you're on this land with these Indians doing the damn thing. And this happened all throughout the Americas. What I'm trying to say is, when these colonists came over, this is what they did. They set up colonies with their people and brought their people over and set up an economy. And basically, a lot of the economy that they set up was to ship, goods back to wherever they was from. Spain, Portugal. I mean, you had people over here from Russia, Germany. We know the British was over here. These were colonies. Colonies were corporations. Colonies were corporations and charters sent over here by the kings. And everybody was under the king rules. But yeah, the charters were sent over here, and companies and corporations came through those charters to do business over here with the Indians. So I'm just trying to tell you guys, if you don't know history, you're just going to be lost with what Donald Trump is doing, all these corporate presidents are doing, in a lot of stuff like that. So what I'm trying to say is, with the Spanish-American War, is the United States been owning unless I see some other treaty where the United States sold these countries or sold these economies. And again, they're economies that Spain sold to the United States. And again, when we talk about economy, not only were their people going into the economy that they brought over here, but eventually the Indians of the land went into those economies. Say for instance, let's just say Cuba, right? So when the Spain came over here and set up the colony in Cuba, their people went into them economies, whatever they were, and whatever was happening. And they set up their religion over here, the way they did stuff over there in Spain. And they were, living in that type of way. Well, a lot of Indians seen that, and they wanted to mimic them. And, you know, they were being sold, the Indians, their Christianity, the way they lived and stuff like that. So eventually a lot of these Indians went into the European economies, and they basically became one with the Europeans. You know, the Indians and the Europeans, they really became one. Some of the Europeans actually want to be like the Indians. They like the way the Indians live, but, you know, most of that didn't happen because a lot of them didn't want to come out of Christianity, but a lot of Indians wanted to go into Christianity. So yeah, that's pretty much what happened in the United States. Like I said, I ain't seen no treaty since then. I haven't seen any treaty since then that the United States, you know, sold Puerto Rico, sold Cuba, sold Guam, sold the Philippines. So what I'm trying to say is they've been owning them places ever since. They own territories, they own all these places, and those are all corporations. So Spain sold their economy, which was a corporation, to the United States in a treaty in the Spanish-American War. See, a lot of this stuff, you can't teach these people because all they know is war. Yeah, the Europeans just came over here and killed all these Indians, man. They killed 100 million Indians. Huh? What are you talking about? Yeah, these people were fighting, no doubt. But a lot of these people mixed in with each other, had families with each other, had traditions with each other. What are we talking about? Winning economies with each other. Fought in wars in alliance with each other, right? You'll see Britain fight with the Cherokee, in alliance with the Cherokee. You'll see France over here in alliance with the, let's say, Blackfoot. And they're all fighting each other. All this stuff is stupid, man. What they be trying to teach in school. It's not true. You're trying to tell me you have all these, in these Indian wars, you have you had over 100 million wars, Indian wars. Well, you have all these treaties, thousands and thousands and thousands of treaties, but you was killing and whooping Indians? No, you don't. Why would you sign a treaty if you won? That ain't no treaty, folks. If you won the War of Independence and the people became free after that of Spanish rule, what? No, of British rule. What are you talking about? It doesn't say that. It don't say that in a treaty. And why'd you sign a treaty? How would you just fight against the Brits? Because everybody was over here and had a stake in this. And if that's so, how come you still was going by the British government, dressing like the British? Everything was the same British atmosphere. If you're no longer, but you're saying you don't go by their terms no more? How does that make any sense? And the British was still getting paid, and still to this day get paid after the War of Independence. They still own a lot of stuff here, folks. So don't get it twisted. You better start knowing history, because if you don't, you ain't gonna know what you see today.